So we've created Sports Injury of the Month to raise awareness about some of the common injuries that happen on the sports field. These can be injuries that happen to really high performing professional players, or just things that can happen in the playground or in your back garden. What we want to do is try and shine a light on just some of the common injuries, what happens to the body, what sort of treatments might be available, what sort of recovery some of these players or you or your children might make, and also a few pointers about when to take it more seriously. So if it's something that happens that you need to get help with straight away, then we'll highlight those sorts of injuries and what you might need to do.
Yeah, I'm Greg Worthington, centre for the Toronto Wolfpack. Bradford born and raised, started rugby probably around 5 or 6 years old, playing for my local team, and I've been playing ever since. So in July 2018 I suffered a multiple ligament rupture in a game against the Rochdale Hornets. I remember it very well because it was the week of my birthday, not something I'm likely to forget. So the injury itself occurred, something pretty simple. I went to step off my left foot and I literally felt my knee explode. One of them things, I had a pass option on, which I wish I'd have taken now. Obviously I wouldn't have had to go through the lengthy recovery, but that's sport and sometimes these things happen. So on the initial incident when I stepped, I literally felt my leg go. There was a really loud crack. I actually remember the guy who was nearest to me thought I'd broken my leg, but I knew obviously there was an issue straight away. There was pain for roughly 30 seconds to a minute. It was quite severe, but then it literally stopped. So that was quite a weird feeling and a weird sensation to be in quite a lot of pain and then for it to disappear within a matter of seconds.
ACL injuries are really common in sport. They're actually more common in non-contact sport than contact sport, which is surprising. And they seem to happen when people land on a knee joint which is either twisted or pivoted. And sometimes you can hear a loud pop when the ligament tears. That's if it tears completely. Sometimes you can just kind of stretch it or strain it a bit. After an ACL injury, you might find that your knee gets very swollen and sore. It could even turn kind of like a bruised colour. The first thing to do after you've had an ACL tear is get some help. You'll feel really, really sore, and it's the sort of thing that you'd need to call a doctor for.
So part of the process from the injury was flying home from Canada back to the UK, going for the scan, getting the scan results, and then booking in for the surgery. Once we knew the extent of the damage, obviously we got a date for the surgery, and I had a process then of making sure I could get my leg as strong as possible before surgery, so trying to keep that activation in my quads and plenty of movement to make it in the best possible state prior to going in for surgery.
Having had kind of an initial assessment by a physiotherapist or a doctor, you might find that the knee feels really unstable and it's difficult to walk. So some people need crutches after an ACL injury. So ACL surgery has become fairly routine these days. It used to be very specialised. It involves finding a new piece of tendon, often from the front of your knee, and they attach that to the two bones during the operation. So they graft the ligament to the two bones, and it takes a few weeks to heal and become more stable, but players and anybody with an injury will often feel that it's much more stable after they've had the operation.
So obviously the period of time I was away from being able to play was around 10 months. Quite lonely in the physio room by yourself, but it's a long process. You've got to make sure everything's working as it was, and aim to make that area, then muscles, stronger to stop any reoccurrence of the injury. But it was like I say, it was about 10 months of hard work with the physios every day to make sure I came back fitter, bigger and stronger.
So after surgery, it might take several weeks before you kind of feeling that you can walk confidently on it. And for players at high professional levels, they're going to take several months before they're back playing to their previous standard.
So the lead up to the Swinton game, obviously I think I'd previously been the 18th man the week before, so I knew I was getting closer to returning to play. And obviously the nerves started kicking a little bit. The injury was still in my mind. I didn't want to go back to being in that physio room by myself, but also there was a real feel of excitement to get back out. I hadn't played for a long time, so that kind of overtook the nervousness. And yeah, I think I remember getting on and getting my first touch of the ball. I actually think I gave a penalty away, which isn't ideal, but yeah, it was great to be back with the lads, and it felt like a big weight lifted getting that first game under my belt.